Hey everybody, welcome to the MMA Heat Podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up, everyone? Jouban here.
So, listen, we're recording this on the Sunday night. It's right after UFC Austin, which we're going to talk about. But Alan, our boy, Jouban, has a fight next Saturday night. This time next week, he'll be having his hands raised, being like, what's up with that? So I know he's got a lot of personal stuff to take care of, folks, which is why we figured we'd bang this out, separately. I know Skype is not quite as fun, but we had to take care of Alan.
Yeah. Make my Mondays easier. I appreciate it. I've started my Sunday of fight week is when I start my water cleanse. So
that looks like pee.
Yeah, well, it's my Mio. It's my Mio orange, Karyn, and it's delicious pee.
How many of those?
That's my trick. The Mio helps me put down the 2 gallons of water a day that I'm going to be doing for. Not the entire next 5 days, but I'm doing a water cleanse for the next 5 days, starting at 2 gallons a day.
Oh
but
my God.
It helps a lot.
Oh my God. Well, folks, listen, what we're going to do here is we're going to talk some things, and then I'm going to get into Alan's fight and everything. So we'll basically do like a pre-fight interview on this podcast as well, because I want to talk some more about the Mio, Pio, and all that stuff. But listen, both of us went to see Black Panther. Dude, how dope is that movie?
It was good, honestly. I didn't want to take, sometimes you get opinions from the outside and you go into a movie and your opinion has already been formulated somewhat. It's been molded. So I didn't want to talk to too many people. You told me it was great. You and Wade said that it was great. My agent Jason said it was amazing. Honestly, I didn't hear one person say a negative thing about it. So I couldn't really formulate my opinion any other way than everybody saying this is such a great movie. It made me excited about it. And I saw some of the stuff online. Joe Rogan had a real good thing during his podcast where he was saying that like some people are getting really mad about it and some people are, So I was like, let me just go see, because of the all black cast or whatever.
Oh, the horror!
So let me just go. Yeah, exactly.
And there are white people in it. The guy with no arm,
there are white
the
people.
guy with one arm, and the FBI guy. Like, hello.
Yeah, like the bad guy. But I was like, let me go see what the hype's about. And I knew my son Cage was the Black Panther for Halloween before I even knew. I didn't even know what the Black Panther was. I was asking him, like, how do you even know about the Black Panther? Like, I've never seen a cartoon. That was his Halloween outfit. So long story short, we went and saw it, and we really enjoyed it. I brought the entire family, me, my wife, my 5-year-old son. There was a little bit of violence that, he's used to it, though. I mean, he sees a lot more worse stuff. But all in all, it was a good movie, in my opinion. It was kind of – I was trying to figure it out, Karyn. I left there, and I kind of felt refreshed. I kind of felt like there was something refreshing about it, and I couldn't really pinpoint it. And I think what it was there was all this kind of stigma pressed onto this movie. Like maybe it was pushing this or pushing that, or the all black cast.
Mm-hmm. Not all black, but yeah.
Of this or this and that, but I went and saw it, and I thought, you know what? I didn't feel like anybody was pushing an agenda on me. I thought it was just a really good movie with a good cast and good, like you said, good fight scenes, good everything. It had a good objective at the end. Everything. I really enjoyed the movie. It was a good movie all in all.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And it's funny because I didn't read and really get into a lot of the stuff leading up to this movie other than, man, that looks badass. You know what I mean? And I want to go see it. So in terms of a lot of that other sort of noise that goes with things, I didn't really buy into it or whatever. So yeah, I know it was an important movie, and I know it stands for a lot, and for those there's a lot of reasons. I definitely wanted to support it, and it does stand for a lot of things. And so then I was just so happy like that it was awesome. You know what I mean? And so for me, when I told you about it, I was like, dude, there's nothing I didn't like about it. I liked all the actors in it. The action sequences are great. The fight scenes are great. The clothes are ridiculous. I just liked everything about it. So I don't have any complaints about it. Some superhero movies I go to, and they're just sort of run of the mill and just sort of boring, and you enjoy it for the time that you're there. But you're like, yeah, whatever. This one, I don't necessarily feel like it's going to like, oh my God, resonate with me more, but it definitely stands out in my memory more. And it's funny for you to see, for people, if they're complaining like, oh my God, an all black cast, like there actually are white people in it. But that was actually what my life was like. Like I grew up with an all white cast, basically until I was, you know, like away going to college. Like I grew up in a town where there was nobody different. So think about that experience, like, until you're age 18 or whatever. So it's very
when you say
that anybody would get hurt about that. And by the way, everybody in the movie looks really great. Like if you're just going just to see what people look like and objectify, like everybody's super fit, everybody's beautiful. Like it's great.
When you said that was what my life was like, I was like, wait, you grew up in a city like that?
Yes, I'm from Wakanda. It's only now that I'm telling you that I have magical powers. And I'm from Wakanda. All I do is I shift my ring like 3 times to the left, and our whole house transforms. And like there's waterfalls, and I've got like a whole lab here. Come over, I'll fix your black eye in like 20 seconds.
No, I enjoyed it though. It was cool. Yeah. I know we weren't trying to get into all that race stuff and this and that, but there was a lot of it. I guess it was a lot of my fight friends. I was at the fights last night, CXF. And I had a lot of buddies fighting on that card, and that was kind of we're in the back room for 5 hours killing time, and that was kind of the topic. A lot of guys saying, you know, I'm hearing this, or I saw it and it was dope, and this and that. So we were talking about the movie, and I'm glad I went to see it. And I felt also it was like a great time in America to have a movie like that, where there's all this other crazy stuff going on, and this was kind of a movie that shed a little brightness on everything.
Yeah, I agree. In the message of basically, you know, brotherhood across all borders and everything, you know, I thought it leaves you with a positive message, but you know, it does make some people uncomfortable to see black people running stuff. Like that definitely makes some people nervous, and I can see how some people would be very afraid, but it's just a movie, whatever. But I'm glad it's doing so well. It's just great. Like, it's just great. So hopefully people go see it. But yeah, so then we obviously had some fights tonight. And I'm curious what your take on, we didn't really, because last week we got to talk about the dog show too. I was at the Westminster Dog Show. So we weren't able to talk before this one. But I did, before the fight took place, I did say I thought Cowboy was going to win. Not because I don't think Yancy is totally capable, but I just thought there was something me feeling Cowboy tonight. That was a great finish for him right there at the end of the first. I'm okay with that stoppage. You know, I know people really like to criticize stoppages now, but Yancy really got tagged and really stumbled and wobbled. And even though he's got so much heart, I'm okay with him stopping that fight.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It was, and to be honest, when I heard the clapper for 10 seconds, I was kind of thinking immediately, or right before, around that time, before Yancy got rocked the first time, I was thinking, man, who's winning this round really? Because Yancy was kind of pushing the pace, and you could see some hesitancy, some almost uncertainness in Cowboy, because I saw him taking some faraway shots in the fight in that first round. He took 3 or 4 shots that were kind of far away, and it made me think, is that his game plan? He doesn't really want to get hit in this fight. He's thinking, let me just try to take this to the ground where I probably have a higher percentage of finishing this fight. He wasn't able to get those takedowns, and I was thinking, man, what Cowboy are we going to see? Is Cowboy kind of a little more hesitant coming off of that knockout loss to Till? But in true Cowboy fashion, he stayed in the pocket. He's like he said it in his post.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer, bite down on the mouthpiece, and just let him rip. He was able to land that good right punch and put Yancy down. It was leading up to be a very good fight. Cowboy landed the right punch at the right time, and he was able to put enough pressure before the bell to force the ref to stop it. It was a good stoppage.
Yeah, I think so. And he did drop Yancy a couple times. One time he slipped, right, and then they hugged it out a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of love in that fight.
Yeah, I'm curious too how you feel about the hugging it out. Like on that part with Yancy slipping and Cowboy being, no, we're good. You know, that I was okay with. But I'm curious for you, the fighter, you know, what you think of that in the middle of a fight, because you know, I liked that he understood, it's a slip and we're good and I'll let you reset or whatever. But at the same time, you know, it's a fight. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you should high five later. I'm curious what you think.
No, I'm glad you brought up this question, Karyn, because I'm usually pretty stern about this.
Like no high fives.
Right. I don't like it. I don't like it. I do make exceptions if you're somebody of a big name.
Yeah.
You have a long history with this opponent,
Right.
or some type of deep history,
Yeah.
or you're a possible main event. And so these guys being the main event, and they kind of had some type of rapport going into it, where Yancy gave Cowboy the cowboy hat.
Right.
There was more of this story that I kind of want to find out, where Yancy jumped out of the cage, gave Cowboy's grandmother a kiss on the lips, so they felt very comfortable.
Right.
I feel like there was some type of backstory to this that I want to find out, and because of that, I kind of appreciate it this time, when normally I don't like to see too much love going on during the fight, but in this case, I didn't mind it so much.
Yeah, I think the story with the hat, right, is that Nate had knocked it off of Cowboy years ago, so Yancy had given him a new one. But yeah, the stuff with the grandma, I'm not sure. I know Cowboy's very close to her. But to his yeah, I wasn't 100% sure of that whole story, but I agree with you. Like, it's heartwarming. That part of it is really heartwarming. And I'm happy to see Cowboy get a win. Like, he definitely had his back against the wall there. For Yancy to lose to Cowboy, it's no big thing. You know what I mean? It still just raises his stock that he had just another really exciting fight. Even though it was only one round. So I think Yancy's totally fine. And I guess Cowboy was saying he could go, between 70 and 55. I mean, both those divisions are tough.
Yeah.
I think he's obviously more successful at 55, right? But it's like, it's harder to do.
I agree. Or maybe he can find these catchweight. Maybe there's an exciting catchweight fight between like a Cowboy and a Kevin Lee. Both guys are kind of in between weight categories, and both guys will make a really good matchup.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So what'd you think of the Black Beast? The Black Beast was kind of getting the hurt put on him by Marcin Tybura, and Marcin's ground game is so much better, meaning, Derek really doesn't have much of one. He's great on top, but doesn't really have a great bottom game, which I really wish he would work on some more. It was really, to me, starting to look pretty bad for him in that second round, but then he came out and turned it around late in the third. And I love it. It was like all of a sudden he was like,
yeah,
what is it? I ain't got time. But you know what I mean? All of a sudden he just hit the switch, bang. I thought that was a great finish, but I was a little nervous for him in the second round.
Me too. I found pretty much my thoughts exactly. I was thinking, are we going to see the Derek Lewis that is gassing out? Are we seeing Derek Lewis that kind of just shows these huge holes in his game when sometimes he rides so high when he gets the takedown, when he gets on top and he puts guys away. But then we were seeing kind of the sloppy Derek Lewis where he's getting tired, no jiu-jitsu wherewithal at all. Like he kept getting up from half guard and then giving his back right away. And he was turning the wrong way on the ground repeatedly. And I was thinking, man, this is starting to spin the wrong way again for Derek Lewis. But as you said, he's able, with that power that he possesses, to at any point turn the fight around.
Right.
Honestly, Karyn, when this fight was done, I grabbed my phone and I was about to tweet. I said, I was tweeting it. I was putting could have gone a little bit longer. And then before it hit send, the replay went around.
Yeah.
As I'm watching the replay, his body, I think this is like an R. Kelly song or something, but his body was saying yes, but his mind was saying no. You know what I mean?
That probably is an R. Kelly song.
He was trying.
Yeah.
He was trying because he was grabbing kind of like a low ankle single, trying to just.
Yeah.
But when they showed a different angle on the replay in slow motion, his head was on the mat. He was down. It was actually a pretty good stoppage. I like to see guys be able to dig themselves out of a hole, but it seemed like there was a couple times that his face was planted, and so it was a good stoppage all in all, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's tough though for me with Derek because obviously, like, he has such a great persona, and he's already so beloved. Like, the thing that a lot of fighters need, which is the game outside the octagon, he has totally on lockdown, right? But then the game, here you go, the game inside, obviously Derek is good enough to be winning, right? And he's got that knockout power. But to me, when you see an athletic champion, somebody like Stipe, who's so in shape and just such an athletic, like, just really like next generation heavyweight, right? That to me is the ideal now. We can't have we just don't have those just big dudes anymore, right? Obviously Ngannou's gas tank didn't last him, but Ngannou is more of a fit machine, right? Even like when you look at what Curtis Blades did the other day to Mark Hunt, like Curtis is crushing it right now. That was such a great performance from him, and he's a great wrestler, like that more athletic, faster, more agile. Obviously, Ngannou is not faster now because he's too slow. But I want to see the guys that are just a little bit more in shape that can push the pace. So Ngannou should probably lose some of that muscle, right? So he can just be that more athletic guy. He's incredibly athletic, but that muscle was slowing him down. So for Derek, a little too much around the middle, slowing him down. I'd like to see them just get more fit.
Yeah, well, I was thinking a little bit of this thing, watching a little more work on the cardio, but also if you want to be taken seriously as this guy that's the top 5 guy or a contender type guy, you have to fix some of these holes in your game. Cardio being one of them. If you want to be a champion, you have to have skill, will, and cardio, and all that experience combined. And that's one thing that Derek does in his fights. Like, he'll show some brilliant ground and pound, and it's funny I use the word brilliant. Maybe just devastating ground and pound is a better example. Devastating ground and pound, enormous knockout power, but then he shows these huge holes in his game where he doesn't really know which way to spin. He gives up his back. He gets completely gassed out. And those are just some things that it's hard to feel as a big, mature man as he is. It's going to be hard to say, yeah, I'm getting better every day, or, I'm a new fighter. It's going to be hard to do a dramatic 360 makeover on him as a fighter, but he needs to continue to work on these things. The cardio and the rest, the cardio and the jiu-jitsu needs some more work in my eyes.
And that actually brings up an aside. I didn't get to see it because I was out, but did you see Mitrione and Roy Nelson, or no? I didn't get to see that one.
I did. Mitrione just had so much of a reach advantage, and I know that's never really stopped Roy Nelson before, but Mitrione is a very athletic heavyweight.
There you go.
He
former
moves
football player and all that, yeah.
To our point, he's very, very light on his feet, and quick and explosive.
Right.
And he was able to just keep Roy Nelson at bay, and he used his lead uppercut over and over and over again to keep him at bay, and he really just had his way with Roy Nelson in that fight.
Nice. Yeah, no, I was sorry to miss it. I'll have to look that one up. We were out doing, a bunch of stuff, but Mitrione obviously moves forward in the Grand Prix. But yeah, so some other things on Austin. I want to make sure I get to your fight, so we have time for that. But anybody else stand out to you? It's funny, we see now, it seems lately we're seeing more of these kind of changing of the guard fights. It always kind of saddens me to see Thiago Alves lose a fight. He's one of the people that I was first really a fan of, you know what I mean? When I first started watching the UFC, he was a guy that I just always thought was just such a badass, always so fun to watch. But I mean, he was taken out by just, you can't script a debut better than what Curtis did.
Yeah, I agree. Curtis
do you know
is a guy
him too from LFA and stuff? Like, was he?
I do. Okay. We've kind of always, we're supposed to fight a number of times. When I was champion, there was an organization called the OC Fight Club, and we were both kind of champions in the same organization, both at welterweight, but I guess it was like I was a champion in another part of it, and he wasn't.
And they didn't or something, yeah.
Right. They didn't want us to fight. They were kind of building both of us.
Yeah.
I went on to the RFA and to the UFC. He went on to Bellator. Mm-hmm. But he's been a guy that I when I see him at the fights, we always speak. He had a great LFA fight recently with a highlight reel knockout, which got him this fight in the UFC. And this was only about a month ago. To take this fight on somewhat short notice against, as you said, a very experienced and well-known veteran. Big step up in competition, but he met that step up in full force, putting Thiago away. I gotta say though, Thiago, as you mentioned, the changing of the guard, it saddens me to see. He was a guy at one time that we were saying this is one of the biggest, strongest welterweights we have, one of the scariest strikers. Later on, he's not as scary, he's not as big, he's not as strong. He moves down to lightweight. The guy that was the guy cutting 30 pounds to make welterweight now makes lightweight at 55. He comes back up to welterweight. He just didn't have that crazy power and explosiveness that he had. And Curtis did a great job being 6'3", and Thiago being 5'9". He didn't let him even get close to him in that fight.
But between Curtis and last weekend, Israel Adesanya, like we're getting some really fun strikers coming in here and making an impact right away. Like as much as it saddens me to see some of these people go, I was thinking about it upstairs and while I was watching, and I was like, it's cool because, I'm sure people are like, you just have to say this because you work for them. But like, honestly, these kind of shows sometimes when you see newcomers come in and make their mark, and you're looking at the thing, you're like, who's that dude? I don't even know this guy. But it's cool when you see somebody make an impact like that right away. You're like, oh, maybe I should pay attention to this guy. You know, like and stuff that we do on Fight Pass where we talked about guys under the radar. You know what I mean? Like it is really cool to kind of think that every time you're watching, you could be watching the next Chuck Liddell or whatever, right? So like at one point, Chuck debuted. At one point, Randy debuted. You know what I mean? And when you think of it that way, to me, that's just really cool. So you never know what these people are going to become. And that's just such a great way to make a debut.
And because a lot of times you don't have the machine that is the UFC giving you that push, the guys like the Sage Northcutts and people like that, they and I'm not taking anything away from him. He fought tonight, but they had the machine working behind them. Where there's a lot of other guys, the guys you were just mentioning, that didn't have that work, and they had to go out there and make that amazing debut, say the right things on the mic, and all of a sudden people are taking note in the UFC and saying, you know what, this guy is a guy we could push. This guy is very marketable.
Yeah, very cool. Did you think Sage won?
Honestly, Karyn, I didn't. To me, it was not a robbery.
Right.
I didn't think it was a robbery. It was one of those fights that you could argue all day long because I thought Sage landed more. Yeah. And you, as a striker, you know me, I'm always going for the striker. Yeah. But I felt like the other guy took shots and he kept pressing forward. He landed the takedowns, and then a lot of people say, but he only landed a certain number of strikes. But let's not forget, he did stumble Sage like twice in that fight and cut him as well. So he didn't land as the amount, but he had some times that Sage was knocked down and hurt, and he kind of. You know how I talk about momentum shifts. Sage was all so good with the striking and outstriking him, but then when he was able to take him down and kind of control him and stumble him a couple times and take that momentum, I thought that he earned a close 29-28 type split decision. But I can't be mad at them giving it to Sage. He did outstrike him.
Yeah, I can't get mad at it either. Somebody had tweeted me and I was like, meh. You know what I was like? It wasn't.
Who did you have?
I mean. It's funny because it seemed to me the stuff that I noticed more was what Guti was doing. Do you know what I mean? Like it seemed like I kind of was more dialed in on him doing things to Sage. And maybe that's because when I watch Sage, I always want to see what happens when he's put in a bad situation. Do you know what I mean? Like I want to look on his face. Does he have any heart? What you know what I mean? Like he's a machine and he might have the technical ability to do things, but I feel like with him, I'm still like really curious what's going on in there. Do you know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Some fighters, you just see fighter on them. Do you know what I mean? And maybe it's because when people are still on their way up and learning things, you do have to think more often while you're doing stuff. I guess when I'm watching him, he doesn't seem that comfortable with stuff yet. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Sometimes I see him in there and I just feel like I don't know. I don't know how to phrase it. He just doesn't always look like he's really flowing and in the zone, whereas I see that with other people.
Well, and also another thing is like I tell this to a lot of young fighters, like fighting is fun.
Right.
Not obviously when you're winning, but when you're all offense. Yeah, when you're going in your fights and you're blasting and you're getting hit once or twice and you're knocking guys out, fighting is fun. But once you get knocked out for the first time or you break a bone or you go through that battle that the next day you're kind of like, man, like, do I want to do this the rest of my life? Is this, once you go through that, then you kind of start to see how bad people really are. And we haven't really seen too much of a war out of Sage just yet. So I get what you're saying. Like you kind of want to see which Sage does in the trenches. You saw in this fight, he was bleeding in the first round. He was fighting it off. He was trying to finish strong. So I think he does. He obviously has that inside of him.
He's got it. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. Like I want to see him like down and dirt, like and yeah. But I'm like you were saying with all the hype and stuff that he had, it's hard for him to ever like almost even catch up to that. You know what I mean? So it's cool for him to get the win. He's obviously improving and all of that. It's like And I guess that's part of it, is just that he's so recognizable, and so you already have so much awareness of him that I need the fighting part to catch up to like the overall awareness of him.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, anyway, speaking of fighting, and actually when we were talking about Cowboy and Yancy high-fiving and hugging it out and broing it out a little bit, you are fighting Ben Saunders at UFC Orlando, and you and Ben are, are friends and have trained together even at times. So for those who don't know, when this matchup came about, how difficult was it for you to just sign on the line?
Yeah, it was weird at first. I mean, I remember I was coming home from the gym. I was at Whole Foods buying some arnica. My phone rings. It's my manager, and I had that feeling like he's got news. And he's like, man, I got good news. You ready? He's like, you sitting down? And I was like, I'm at the market, but go ahead.
Right.
And he said, Ben Saunders. And I was like, he's like, what, man? And I'm just like, dude, like, I'm dying for a fight, but you give me the one guy that, like, I'm cool with. We've trained together. We've rode together. Eddie Bravo coaches both of us. We talked about it, and obviously, and I text Ben as well. He's going through the same thing as me, where he's trying to get a fight. We're both trying to get one. We both felt like it was in our best interest to fight each other and not say no to the UFC, and then them maybe push us back even further along, waiting for a fight. So it was tough at first, but after it was, for me, it was just like I wanted to get it cleared up. I wanted to speak to Ben, let him know that nothing had changed between our personal relationship. I wanted to speak to Eddie Bravo and let him know that, look, I'm still 10th Planet family, but I got to do what I got to do, man. Like, the Gracies fight each other. There's a 1,000, 10th Planet is just starting to grow that much, where now 10th Planet guys are fighting. So I wanted to get that cleared up. Once I did that, I've really embraced this fight. I've studied a lot of his footage. I feel like I've done everything I could do to get ready for this fight. Everything. And honestly, I was at your house a couple weeks ago before the podcast, and I said something about the fight, and it sounded half-heartedly because I was including a bunch of stuff. I was like, man, if I can get the win and go to Disney World and get my truck finished, and I was saying because I was including all these other things with it. And you said, no, it's not if, Alan, it's supposed to be will. And I was like, man, Karyn's over here correcting me, but she's freaking right. And, like, honestly, that was probably the last time that I said anything remotely about this fight. I've been 100% focused and dialed in since then, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go in this fight.
I love to hear it. And I know it's tough because you obviously need to look forward, but you do, I have to imagine, feel pressure, when you're coming off a fight that didn't go your way. So how do you make sure that you don't get hung up on that, right? Because I know you're a real goal-oriented guy, and you always write down your achievements and all your goals and stuff like that. So what did you do to just get rid of that BS and just know that you are, the champ, that there's a champ inside you, right? So how did you just blow that off?
Yeah. Man, it was a weird fight camp because I'm coming off of 2 losses, so there's your back's against the wall thing. So do I use that? There's I'm fighting a guy who's I'm friendly with. Yeah. There's that, but then I started looking at the fight and thinking, man, I'm better than him. And then, not to make this like a sad thing, but when my dog died a month ago, my bulldog, we talked about it a couple podcasts ago. My bulldog died. Thank you. Yeah, I was about that. But honestly, I was having the best training sessions and the best mental focus because it's like I would get in my car every day and want to just break down. Yeah. And I would get to my training session and be like angry. I'm like, I'm taking my mind off of things and I'm putting everything into training. And then I would be so in the zone. I was like in the matrix in training when I was depressed during the daytime. And it almost, after I became more comfortable, I don't know if that's the right word, but once I was done grieving over my dog and I like accepted it and the good memory started taking over, I almost was like, man, I kind of want that same focus, that same killer instinct that I had back in the gym. And I was able to kind of find that. I don't know if this really makes sense, but something about Buster's death was giving me the craziest training sessions because I was just taking that grieving and putting it in the fighting. And I was able to kind of become accept his death and still have those killer sessions throughout since then, that about a month ago. And I don't know, I just feel dialed in this fight. And my son, Cage, is coming to this fight, this very first UFC fight. And it's one of those things where, like, he looks up to me so much. And I feel like he is that extra little thing that's going to push me over the edge to make me just go, go, go.
Nice. Well, you know that also my mom and brother are going to be there too.
Okay.
There's going to be a big Jouban cheering section for sure. And yeah, and I love to hear that you're able to make that as into like a driving force, because it definitely does seem like everything that you posted on social media. You know, I know everybody loves to say, "Oh, it's the best camp I've ever had," and you just admitted, no, there was a lot of crappy things about the camp too that happened, you know, outside of the gym or whatever. But it definitely looks like all your training sessions were like really solid and everything looks great. Most people are going to look at this fight and say, "Oh, Alan, keep it on the feet. You shouldn't go to the ground." And most people are probably telling Ben, "Dude, get it to the ground as fast as possible," right? So is that basically how you see it, that he's more of a threat on the ground and try not to get taken down?
I think he has a better opportunity of winning the fight on the ground. I do. Ben's a guy that will stand with anyone. Sure. When he was in Bellator, when he was in the UFC, he stands with the best guys in the world. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. Yeah. He's got positions within all these different areas that he's very strong at. In the clinch, he's very good. Has very high knees. On the ground, inside of his guard, he's got great rubber guard. But yeah, I would like to keep it on the feet. I feel like I can put him away on the feet, and I feel like he probably would feel in his heart that his best percentage of putting me away would be on the ground. With that said, I'm bringing one of my coaches, Jared Carlson, a 10th planet jiu-jitsu black belt who trains with me at Burbank. He's Ben's bringing a guy named Boogie Martinez, who's another 10th planet jiu-jitsu black belt out of San Diego. So it's funny. Boogie, I was watching EBI, and his brother was in the finals, and I was kind of telling him congrats, respect, and then Boogie reached out to me. He goes, "Man, like, I just want to tell you, man, like, Ben reached out to me and he wants me to coach him. I want to let you know I got respect for you, this and that." And I was like, damn, well, thanks for telling me. It was a little weird, but I was like, man, do what you got to do. I'm bringing my guy. You bring it. It really was reminding me when Machida fought, what was his friend that he fought, the wrestler?
Oh, Mark Munoz. That sucked.
Mark Munoz. And he had the Gracie brothers, you remember?
I know.
I remember the Gracie brothers hit on, and then, but I don't know, it made me think of that. It's like we both have our jiu-jitsu black belt, but to be honest, I'm preparing as much as possible for the jiu-jitsu, but I don't plan on doing any jiu-jitsu. I plan on having my hand raised within the first or second round by KO that night.
Bam! That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up, and then you're going to Disneyland.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny because you were saying how you know, not that you couldn't say no, but you really are, you know, you do get in these positions. Like, you know, when you hear fighters all the time out on Twitter, "Oh, yo, McMahon, give me a fight, yo, Sean Shelby." Like, how hard is it now? Is it harder because your division is really tough and it's just literally hard to get the matchups? Is it harder just because... is it always harder based on, you know, harder or easier based on your last fight? Like, for those who don't know, all of us are not actually fighters waiting for a call. So how much harder does it seem now?
I would say the biggest percentage in this is your results from your last fight. Yeah. You know, unless you're a big name guy, or in the top 5 or 10, where you have to kind of fight on a pay-per-view or something that makes sense with the numbers, the rankings. If you're one of these other guys, then it kind of depends on your last fight. And it's really just hit or miss. Now that Joe Silva's no longer the matchmaker, Sean Shelby and Mike have a greater load they have to carry with all the divisions. And I think it's a lot for them. And I feel like if you're coming off of a big win, you're just fresher on their mind. We're all humans, you know, and that's how they are. If they have somebody in their mind, "No, man, that was a great fight this weekend. You know who would match up well with this guy?" That's kind of how they work. And if you didn't have a great fighter, you got put away, they kind of just say, "You know what? I'll get to him whenever I can." And coming off of a loss, that's kind of the situation I was in. Before that, in 2016, when I went 3-0, I was having no trouble at all until the Gunner fight. But what I mean is, though, like, even though I was on a 3-fight win streak, it took me 4 or 5 months to fight Gunner. I was trying to fight immediately after Mike Perry, and I still couldn't get a fight. So it's really kind of hit or miss, unless you're a big draw name, like as some of the guys are in the UFC.
Well, as of next Sunday, you won't have that problem. I like Ben Saunders a lot. He's a real good dude. but he's getting the L. Sorry, bruh. Like you said, we're all friends. We can all be whatever, but you know,
we're gonna hang out after.
Obviously, yeah. So yeah, all things equal, it's late February, so you could maybe fight again in like June or something.
I was thinking it. Yeah, I was trying to think of. I mean, I say this every time, but I would love to get out of this fight unscathed, and then put that call into the UFC and say, look, if somebody drops out within 2 months, get on one of those, because I've got a 4-fight goal this year, and obviously to make that happen, I want to be fighting every 3 months. So take a week off, get right back in the gym.
Okay, so last thing I'll ask you about then. So how did you get the shiner? Like, were you not keeping your hands up, bro?
Last sparring session, Karyn. Last one. Yeah, no, I was at Muscle Farm with one of the guys I've been sparring with.
Yeah.
And it was controlled, but you know, that last round, we were like, we're both fighting on the same day.
Right.
So we both have that same mindset. We don't want to get hurt, but we're also trying to push ourselves mentally in cardio.
Right.
And I just got a little scratch from the glove, but it was a really good sparring session. I'll say, sorry, Anthony, but I think I hit you more than you hit me. I just happen to show the marks a little more. That's all.
Awesome. Well, we know you do heal up like Wolverine. So for all the media that's there for you in Florida, everybody will still get the normal Alan.
Yeah, I'll be healed by then for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. And speaking of which, you shared one of your things, like you have, is that Bonobos hat is out already now?
Oh, yeah. Bonobos.
Yeah.
I don't know, however you say it, but that just came out. That's the one I shot last year in New York.
Right.
When I think it was like December or November, but nice. That's out now. They were real cool with that. Somebody told me they saw the poster outside the store as well, so I need to go check that out as well.
There's one up on La Brea.
Oh, is there?
I'll have to do a drive-by, an Insta story that. Well, yeah, there's one on the corner of like La Brea and 2nd Street or whatever. I'm pretty sure, so I'll have to look.
I'm in Hollywood tomorrow. Maybe I got to check it out.
All right, cool. Awesome. Well, as we said, I will be there doing all the FS1 portion of the stuff in Orlando, so it should be really, really fun. But yeah, Alan, especially this week, I know everybody wants to follow you, so where can they find you on social media?
Cool. Yeah, guys, as always, at Alan Jouban across the board. Give me a follow. I'll probably be doing a lot of social media stuff while I'm in Orlando as well, so you can see me on probably, doing some interviews, Q&As with the UFC as well.
Awesome. On Instagram, I'm KB H.E.A.T, YouTube, Twitter, all that other stuff. It's Karyn Bryant. Obviously, you've already found that. Also, look for MMA Heat. Good stuff, Alan. You know, it's funny because Wade said he saw you the other day, and he's like, Alan's in fight mode. And I go, was it a little spicy? And he was like, well, I mean, he's ready to fight.
I didn't notice anything.
It was pretty funny. It's good. I like it. It scares me. It's like if whenever I talk to you on that Thursday, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
But it's good. I like it. So awesome. Well, safe travels, and I will see you there.
Awesome. Sounds good. Take care, guys.
See ya.